talking about, despite the popularity of online shopping, how in-store experiences remain a cherished pastime for both locals and tourists. Sabah al Khair, good morning. My name is Patrick FALLMANN. I'm here on behalf of the Store Makers Middle East, also representing Omdaj in the region. For those who do not know, we have about 200 dedicated store makers in the region, and we create and make bespoke retail interiors for many prestigious lifestyle and premium retail brands and also operators across the Middle East. I'm honored today to host this fantastic panel with such distinguished guests, and I will jump straight into the questions because we are under a time limit. I see the countdown going down, and Daniele, I believe your wife, it's her birthday, and you have to catch a flight straight after, right? So Daniele, we start with you. I understand you have recently opened your first store in the region at Dubai Mall. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about it and how you're differentiating your in-store experience from other established players in the market like Paci or Patil. How you're differentiating Venchi as an Italian brand.
Thank you for that. I start with a disclaimer, notwithstanding my last name, I am not Ferrero of the Nutella Ferreros. Just, I don't want to disappoint anybody. So we are a chocolate and gelato maker, but it's a common last name in Italy. So yeah, we're very excited that with our long-standing partner, Azadea, we just opened our first store in the region. But in the meantime, we opened already our second one in Bahrain in the Marassi Mall, and we're about to roll out others.
Congratulations.
When we actually look at a market, we don't so much look at who's present in the market, but whether there is a community of consumers who's happy to have us. And we try to have a very consistent and coherent brand purpose around the world, whether it is in Dubai or Sydney or New York or London. And the purpose of our brand is to bring a touch of Italian allegria to the world. And allegria is a very Italian name, which can be translated roughly as a light cheerfulness in a context of conviviality. So cheerfulness and conviviality are very important to what we try to express in our stores. And how do we execute that physically? Well, we first of all take product. Our product is a 360-degree chocolate indulgence. You know, Italians love their food, so that's what, you know, Venchi is first of all about, pleasure in food. But as you may all know, Italy is also about balance between pleasure and indulgence and well-being. So we try with our ingredients, with our clean label, but also with the reduction of sugar, reduction of fats, absence or very little presence of milk, to try to strive to have a very Italian balance.
But to come back to the in-store experience, are you also incorporating other features that also create some sense of place in the region?
Yeah, absolutely. We, again, trying to go back to the Italianness, we try to open a window to our consumers to a little part of Italy. So our stores, hopefully, convey through lighting, colors, and of course the materials, the furniture, the texture. But colors is very important to Italians, a little part of Italy. And finally, what we always hope to achieve, and if that's a never-ending story, is through service, giving our guests, what we call our consumers, we call them friends, try to have them sharing through our rituals a very specific Italian gelato and chocolate experience.
Talking about experiences, David, if I may jump over to you. You're obviously operating department store, I believe the oldest, if not one of the oldest, if not the oldest department store. How do you create experience in your property, in your real estate? And how do you map out which locations allocated to F&B, what spaces go to traditional retail offerings in such a diverse portfolio and ranges of products that Steen and Strøm is offering to its consumers?
I mean, I suppose the development of the strategy happened sort of 4 or 5 years ago, and the strategy is constantly evolving. But I guess one of the most significant things that we achieved in 2021 was connecting the department store Steen and Strøm, which incidentally carries the moniker of being the oldest luxury department store in the world. We connected it to the main pedestrian highway of Oslo. And that's had a very significant effect on the performance of the business, because we connected the store with the main pedestrian highway. We built an atrium and a beauty hall of about 900 square meters that has sort of over 200 brands. And, you know, beauty continues to perform really well. I mean, for example, yesterday it was 89% up on last year, and it's been producing very strong sort of double-digit growth certainly the last 2 years. But, you know, our kind of our plan behind, you know, all of the kind of hyperbole in the words really is to become, you know, the store of Oslo. I mean, Oslo is actually quite a small city with a population in Greater Oslo of about 1.3 million people. But we very much want Steen and Strøm to be a retail destination. And we now have 11 food and beverage venues throughout the department store. The most recent one opened 2 Saturdays ago, which is an espresso bar, which is in the heart of our technology hall. But, you know, this technology hall, the kind of spin that we've put on it, it's a space for creatives. It's a space where community can come and enjoy, you know, really first-class kind of tech, but they can also use the photographic studio, the sound studio, etc. But, you know, our food and beverage business is, what, 25% of our annual revenue. It accounts for 21% of the footfall.
So people come to eat and shop, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you have to provide an immersive experience, a reason to, you know, to create dwell time.
And how do you allocate spaces for individual brands as you elevate your department store experience and also bring in more luxury brands? How do you locate them within your general arrangement layouts? Do they have a say in where they can go? How do you navigate the placement of individual brands and such?
I mean, we've been very fortunate because, you know, Steen and Strøm is bordered by a street called Nedre Slottsgate. And on that street, we have 5 of the top global luxury brands. In fact, that street is responsible, I think now, for about 250 million euros worth of revenue. And there are many new brand entrants in luxury and premium that want to come into Steen and Strøm. And so our plan is really very simple. It's to continue to build luxury experiences on level 2. Last year, in October, Loewe joined the department store, which is very significant.
Why level 2, for example? Why luxury on level 2?
Because, I mean, our kind of feeling, which is sort of grounded in the local market, is that we need to provide not only international but also national experiences in terms of brands. And certainly, I think, you know, the kind of demise of the department store is very well documented, and kind of playing too much in the middle ground, it doesn't really ignite the, you know, the imagination. I mean, our luxury revenues are growing, high 20s, double digit. So we're very fortunate.
Stanley, can I switch over to toys? WHP Global has bought Toys R Us in 2021. Can you tell us a little bit what happened before and what WHP Global and you did to transform the in-store experiences since then to turn things around?
Certainly. Toys R Us is an iconic brand. It's been around for an awfully long time, but we were lucky enough in 2021 to really earn the right to acquire the brand. We're all Toys R Us kids, and so it's a magical brand. In really under 3 years, we've been able to grow the brand to nearly 3 billion. We've added hundreds of stores. We're going to add 300 this year and another 300 to 500 next year. And you can buy cheap toys in a lot of different places. Amazon, Walmart, supermarkets in the UK, hypermarkets in France. What we need to do, and what we, I think, have done rather successfully, is create an environment that is sort of emotionally connected with parents, grandparents, children, and the like, to create interactive, experiential environments, whether it's a Jeffrey the Giraffe Cafe where you can get ice cream with our iconic mascot, whether it's a Barbie Cafe in Mexico City, whether it's a Lego PlayStation within a store or a Jeffrey photo opportunity in that shop-in-shop. What we're trying to do is mine that emotional connection and sort of appeal of the brand to a new generation, really, of Toys R Us kids. And as sort of demonstrated by some of the success, we think that we've been very successful. We've built a community of partners. Each month we're on sort of calls with partners in all of our markets, South Africa, Korea, the UAE, and we're comparing kind of notes, we're sharing content, exclusives that the studios and others present to us, Mattel and the studios. So last week, successful campaign here in the UAE with a Furby exclusive doll. In Korea, pop-ups for Disney, Marvel, and Lego. So we think that we're building a community, really, and an environment that encourages all of us. You mentioned dwell time. We average about 58 minutes, which is a sort of an astonishing kind of amount of time to spend in store. And we think that that really is attributable to both the merchandising and the content and the marketing and the like.
And you can see that increasing with the experiences that you create and the communities that you're building around the stores?
We can see empirically kind of sort of growth, sales, and the like, and really, if you look at our followings on Instagram, TikTok, and the like, you can see kind of the growth, the appeal, the magic of Toys R Us.
But I believe some of the growth on the stores, on the number of stores, also comes through the different formats of stores, the smaller size stores that you're also launching and operating.
We've been very creative, I think, in developing different formats so that we can touch our customer in different environments. And so whether it's a 15,000 square foot flagship store in every kind of country, really, or a 500 square foot travel retail shop in Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. So what we've done is we've been able to curate merchandise assortments to fit a 500 square foot store, a 2,500 square foot shop-in-shop, or a 15,000 square foot flagship store, and develop either exclusives or our private brands like Imaginarium and other private brands, in addition to Lego and Mattel and Hasbro and the like.
I think that's very interesting, obviously, with the different formats, the different sizes, getting the additional agility and flexibility to adapt to different real estate and local requirements. So it's quite impressive to hear about these transformational stories. But Greg, over to you. In your business, Inglot Cosmetics, you took over the business from your father and got the reins. What is more important for you, to preserve the success story, the DNA of Inglot as a brand, or to disrupt, change, bring in new ideas and transform the formats and concepts?
I think those two things go parallel, because in order to preserve the brand, you need to change definitely and constantly evolve, and that's what we are doing right now when we are talking about refurbishing and changing the way our store looks like. So we actually started this transformation in the second half of last year. Already rolled out some stores in the new concept, and the whole idea of this concept is to find an analogy in the store to human face. So we have some steady elements, like contour of your face, and also some elements that are changing constantly, like our collections and products. So this is what we are doing right now, but we're not stopping there, because we need to definitely go parallel with e-com, which is going to have a new face this year as well.
And you're implementing new technologies in stores as well, as I understand.
Yes, but I'm trying not to implement too many examples of visible technology, because everyone has a great computer in their pocket. So I'd rather utilize this rather than put, I don't know, 100 screens in our stores.
I mean, you tried to implement technology in the past already in your stores, and maybe you can share with the audience some examples of what didn't work. I mean, we hear many new technologies that work and that are supposed to increase sales, but maybe you can give an example of what didn't work for you in the past and why.
We were trying with virtual makeover technology, but AR was not there yet, so and we were not ready for it, probably. Again, hardware thing. Hardware is getting old pretty quickly, so but that was a good lesson for us. Now we are thinking about implementing color matching device in our stores in order to enable customer to find easier way to meet our product in the face category, because I never thought it's going to become a problem that we have too many colors and too many products in terms of face products.
It helps the selection process then.
Yeah, so we have to make this customer experience easier for our customers.
David, as we talk about technology and tools, I'd like to quote you from what you told me earlier. You see your business also like a platform, like a Netflix for retail. What do you mean by that, and how does that translate into the physical experiences in your store?
I mean, that particular analogy was part of a story which I wrote, I think it was, 4.5 years ago, to bring the strategy to life. I wrote a story which was about a shopping experience that a couple were having in Strøm department store, but told in the future, or told from the prospect of the future. And I believe very firmly that department stores particularly can flourish if the content, the brand mix, the experience, the processes, and the passion are there and are interesting. I mean, certainly, last Saturday we opened 2,000 square meters of contemporary fashion. And that floor is entirely, it's a genderless fashion experience. And in fact, each level of the department store is destined to become effectively genderless.
And part of that platform, are there any Middle Eastern brands already that you can mention that you've incorporated, or are you looking for new brands to join the portfolio, and what exactly are you looking for?
Well, I mean, that's a great question because, you know, our third largest visitor group is from the UAE.
Okay.
And our export, or our tax-free shopping business, is growing significantly. And we absolutely need to address that fashionability within Steen and Strøm, but also more widely in Promenaden.
Daniele, I would like to come back to you in regards to the split of the retail business in your store specifically. You obviously have the F&B side and you have the retail side. How do you see that split? Is it stronger? Is the F&B side growing stronger than the shopping side? Does the one follow the other, or vice versa?
I get a lot of that because operators, partners, landlords all think either retail, you're shopping, and or F&B, you're serving the customer. We don't think like that. Because the consumer doesn't care. The consumer wants to have fun. Especially now, especially after COVID, we're faced with a hermit consumer that has found out that they can indulge very, very easily at home. If you want them to come out of their house and come, you know, physically to the stores, you want to give them a 300, and in our case, a 360-degree chocolate indulgence experience. Whether they eat in store, whether they eat some in store and some not, whether they taste, whether they take away, it doesn't really matter as long as we address their cheerfulness. We want to have them make sure they have fun, the conviviality. We want to make sure they're sharing with us in the store and hopefully with their friends at home. So we see all sort of patterns. We see people coming in for the gelato because maybe they see a queue and then say, oh, you know, actually great, I had chocolate and pistachio gelato. How does that translate into what can I bring home? Well, we can take away gelato at home, but you can also have a bag of chocolates. But I would like to give somebody something away. Then there's a gifting station to you.
So it's pretty 50-50.
Yeah, ultimately it's 50-50.
And it translates?
And the customer journey, fortunately enough, it varies, it changes. We try to bridge the gap between what traditionally is F&B in our world, you know, ice cream, the crepes, the drinks, and of course the confectionery, by having products that actually do both.
Okay.
And that you can try and mix and play. Although the experience is unfortunately nowhere near 58 minutes, I wish. It's a rather impulse buy, so it's, you know, so consumers come and go pretty quickly in our store. We try to, you know, have them try everything as much as possible, and hopefully come back with more friends.
Makes sense. Stanley, when you're working, Daniele, you're working with us at the year. Stanley, I guess you're working with a number of operators also in the regions through the various of brands that WH Global also recently acquired. I think you work with Al-Futtaim, as in Toys R Us, but I believe you also work with Chaloup. And I hear some rumors, there's also some collaboration on a specific brand, maybe with apparel. Is there something that you can share already? Any news about the new brands and the appetite of WH Global to acquire new brands?
Sure, thank you. We work with best-in-class partners, and so here in the Middle East, we've worked for a number of years with Al-Futtaim. For Toys R Us, they're operating 18 stores in the UAE and other stores throughout the region. We, this year, acquired several new brands in our portfolio. G-Star, the global denim brand. We haven't announced, you can ask Seema, but we will be announcing a partner for the Middle East and the GCC markets in India. Our Anne Klein brand, which is an $800 million women's heritage brand from the US, is also going to be working with another partner that you just mentioned in the same markets, GCC and India. We are very acquisitive. We and our stakeholders are committed to continuing to build out a portfolio of great brands. That's kind of the lens that we look at as we're exploring M&A, and we are committed to acquiring more brands. We're agnostic as to categories. We have brands like Lotto in the athletic vertical that we operate, the Italian football and tennis pickleball brand now. We operate Toys R Us, Babies R Us, and 20 other brands like Imaginarium in our hard goods vertical. And then we obviously continue to accumulate brands and build and steward those brands in the fashion vertical. G-Star Express, Rag & Bone, Anne Klein, and a number of other brands. So we will continue to acquire brands. We'll continue to return to Dubai and other markets to really identify best-in-class partners that we can work with.
So I guess we'll keep an eye on the news then. Greg, the chairwoman of Apparel Group was early on stage today. I think she mentioned your brand specifically as well. What does a local partner bring for you to the table, and what is the value of the relationship with the local operators? I believe you started the relationship around 2006 when the business was taken internationally.
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that part and the local partnerships.
Sure. It's almost 20 years we've been together with the Apparel Group, which is a half of our presence on the market because we are a 40-year-old brand. Right now, we celebrated our anniversary last year. So the main thing is definitely the local factor which local partner can bring. So we really need this to actually mean something on that market. And another thing is that we can actually work together on developing our sales channels, which are changing right now. We're starting to operate in more hybrid model, not only monobrand stores, but also presence in department stores, in retail chains. So we can work together on that. Plus, we are definitely applying, and we're gonna apply the new concept in the monobrand stores here locally as well.
So we will watch that space as well. To move then back to department stores, as you nicely said, Steen and Strøm has investors from London and Abu Dhabi as well. Is it likely that we see some stretching out of the legs out of Norway as well, and new countries being entered as well for Steen and Strøm? Or is it strictly a Norwegian brand?
It's a great question. You know, we're very fortunate to have investors from Abu Dhabi and from London. So yeah, Abu Dhabi Investment Authority and Mark Capital Management London. And I think that, you know, we have a lot of work to do in promenade and management, in refining and, you know, kind of fine-tuning Steen and Strøm department store. That being one of the assets that promenade and management actually handle in Oslo. I think where the question is really interesting is the kind of connectedness between, say, Oslo and cities like Stockholm and Helsinki, because those marketplaces present significant opportunity. You know, for a long while, there's been I mean, you know, quite rightly, you know, everybody's very sort of Milan-centric, Paris-centric, London-centric. But, you know, our recent experience has been that, you know, brands are now kind of gravitating to our part of the world, and that probably presents one of the big opportunities for growth.
Okay, very interesting. I mean, I'm conscious of time. I can see the clock already counting down. I have another range of questions. Unfortunately, we will not be able to make it through all of them. But to maybe conclude with you, Daniele, Can you tell us a little bit about what you think the future holds in terms of consumer trends, in terms of what is it impacting on F&B, on your products that you're selling? Where do you see the future going?
Well, I think what we see, especially in young countries like the Gulf, a lot of young people in parts of Asia and parts of America, is that there is a significant, in terms of products, a lot of it said already at the summit in terms of digital and the AI and whatever, but in terms of product, we see a significant shift towards, again, a search of a wellness and well-being, plant-based, sugar reduction. The generations that come after us are much more conscious than we are about what is actually good for them, and usually that coincides in their mind of what is good for the planet. Often they're not wrong. And so we are investing pretty heavily in adding more cocoa and reducing. We're launching a totally new sugar-free line of chocolate, which is a bit tough in this market conditions. Cocoa prices have quadrupled, but long term, that's what we want to invest in, and we can believe to. And I think the new generations will. That's what we're seeing. We're even about to dedicate a whole line of stores just to that kind of product. So you have a full indulgence play. Our stores today are a full indulgence. We try to do Italian, as we said, a lot of indulgence with limited guilt. And now we're trying a new line of stores with a little bit less indulgence and no guilt whatsoever.
Wow, I think that's a wrap. We learned a lot about how to connect the experiences in store, how to emphasize on the experiences in store, how to also create new formats, different formats to stay flexible and nimble, how to use technology sensibly. Yeah, I'll certainly keep an eye on the news. I'm excited about what the future holds. And thank you very much for all the answers to those questions. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed.
Thank you.